with the learners that we're trying to reach within the workplace and within vocational education. They're expecting this to be on any device that they look at, anytime, anywhere, and building something that won't run on an iPad or won't run on their mobile phones is going to weaken the case for making learning technologies a success. Making it a more personal experience is something else that we found as well. Maybe that relates to the classroom point that somebody made, is if it feels like one size fits all and I don't have any say over my learning experience, that's not going to help with engagement. Getting better value for money, times are hard. We know that. We hear that loud and clear from corporate L&D departments. We've got to do more for less. That's the pressure that people are under. So what can we do to make sure that better learning technologies doesn't have to mean more expensive approaches? And the fifth key thing, I think, is seamless learner journeys. So that idea of moving from platform to platform, from LMS to CMS, from device to device, without feeling like it's a lurching, disconnected experience. So somebody in the research talked about, we want learning to be more like a Netflix experience. I start on one device, I pause, I pick up on another device. It should all just work, to borrow Steve Jobs' terms. So what are we doing about these things? Well, the work that we've been doing together with City and Guilds over the past several months, which we're terming City and Guilds Way, more as a broad kind of philosophical title for how this works, is trying to address these 5 points. So 5 things we're looking to do: building community, support and motivation into the model, recognizing that learners are, by nature, a lot of, especially knowledge workers, are quite isolated in what they do, and they're left to their own devices. For some learners, that's okay, but for others, they need a community around them. They need support. They may need a bit of prodding and nudging and challenge to get forward in their learning experience. Accessing any time, and what we've done is try to develop over 70% of the work that we've done to be available on mobile devices. The goal is to get to 100% on that. Creating a route through that works for individuals, so being able to personalize your learning experience depending on what you're trying to achieve. That might be down to a specific qualification, or it might be a specific objective that you're trying to achieve in the workplace. But getting better value for money, and again, that's moving away from e-learning packages, as I think Tim Newman said when we were looking at the comments, towards shorter resources, thinking more like 2 to 3 minutes, not 2 to 3 hours. Some of those are made, but a lot of them can be curated, and we'll come on to look at some examples of where we've used content that's just out there freely available, and curating, organizing it, filtering it for learners. So providing on-demand support for people at a lower cost, and then providing a good end-to-end experience that works well over multiple different platforms, but it still feels like one experience. So those are the things we're trying to do. Let's come on and have a look at how we're trying to do that. So this is the portal, the City and Guilds Way front end. Quickly summarize the 4 or 5 benefits that we're trying to deliver through this. We're trying to bring advice and guidance to learners into one place with examples from videos, examples from real experts. We're creating a community of practice to allow peer-to-peer support and access to experts. We're looking to enable people to share content and upload content. So thinking about what works on eBay, thinking about what works on YouTube, thinking about what works on social media, sharing channels that allow people to freely swap and exchange resources, trying to bring that metaphor to actually work in a learning context. Providing a wide range of learning resources, some made, some curated, some borrowed from other sources. Providing personal coaching and support through tutors and through a route map, which we'll come and look at, and of course linking through where it's required to assessment and then proper accreditation to lead to a qualification. All of those things exist out in the world already, of course. We haven't invented those concepts for the first time. I think this is the first time where they've all been together in one service, in one place. We started with a food and drink pilot, so that's what we're going to look at today. But as Kirstie can come on to comment about, there are many, many more industries, obviously, that this will work for, and those are to follow. So that's the overview about what we're trying to achieve here. I'll hand over to Kirstie, and I will now fire up the live system, which is, you're going into a live, as I would say in Big Brother, you're now accessing a live site. Please do not swear. So if there's any lags or delays, it's because real users are using this in real time. So Kirstie, I'll hand over to you while I get the site up and running.
Thank you. Morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay, well, I think Stephen has done extremely good introduction there in respect to what you're actually going to see, which is our first pilot of something we have turned the City Guilds way, really as a philosophy to try to show the different way in which now City Guilds is trying to offer its services out across the 80 countries we work in and the thousands of colleges and employers that we touch in the UK and also abroad. We operate across 27 sectors. Sorry, Don? Hello? So we operate across a number of different sectors, but the one we're going to be showing you now is around food and drink. And the main point what I want to make here, you're now seeing the live portal landing page. This is the one space where everything to do with skills and careers to do with food and drink is the place to actually hold this sort of this information in almost like a magazine style concept. The idea here, this is about where you can engage your learners, be it your employees or learners who are going through a college route, and indeed it's an opportunity for employers to actually come and look at the different careers that they want to be able to promote. It's really an industry voice for this particular industry, and it's the first time, as Stephen's mentioned before, that you'll actually see as we go through the demonstration where we've actually linked 3 systems. So this is a sort of ecosystem of a learning platform, an e-learning portfolio and an e-assessment platform, all coming together to create one seamless journey. So let's just have a little look around this this landing page, and maybe just go into your future. You'll see in a moment we'll click on a button called Your Future, and the idea here is there's an opportunity here for a learner, a would-be employee who's interested in this industry to really think about what are the options available in this industry. I don't think it's coming up just yet. But it should come up with some options and give people an opportunity to have a think about what their future might look like. I seem to have lost the screen completely. And then if we can have a look at those options, Stephen, there's a diagnostic built in there.
Sorry.
The joys of using a live system.
Log back in. Sorry, it's just kick me out for a second.
So what we're going to see in a moment. What we're going to see in a moment is a sort of a mini diagnostic, an opportunity for a learner to really have a look at, well, what does the future allow for in terms of a career with food and drink? What does it take to be in this industry, and what would be my next steps? But we just need to see if we can actually get that up by logging in. This is all built, the LMS that we're going to go into in a moment is a tutor LMS. Obviously working with Kineo, but obviously we've customised the tutor LMS to actually deliver what we need it to deliver. I notice a question coming with someone asking about, is this Moodle? Stephen, are you having problems getting into Your Future button?
Seems to be. Let me just switch to my backup slides, because that will at least demonstrate while I'm trying to run this in the background. I'll just show people.
Okay, so as I said, this would be part of the diagnostic. So the idea here is learners get a chance to know themselves, reflect on the sorts of questions that might be associated with a particular industry. We know what one of the problems that employers face is actually are employees ready for particular careers in the variety of careers that fit in this particular industry? And this is one way of being able to step that through. Another important point is also the lowdown. You can then move on to a lowdown, which actually gives you an opportunity to work through all the different roles that there are in food and drink, and let me tell you, there are literally hundreds and many of them. But a lot of young people face decisions about, well, what is the best and most suitable role for me? So here there are all sorts of videos that we've curated, as Stephen mentioned before. This is about making the best of the free resources that are out there and being able to sort of have a taxonomy in which to tag them to something very relevant. So I don't know whether we're in the live system at the moment, otherwise we would have played you a short clip of maybe the commie chef, but I don't know whether that's going to be possible depending on whether we're in the live site or not at the moment, Stephen. Well, okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
so the next aspect is about, you know, what might be the right career.
What we're actually looking at
so
is
one of the things
stuff
we've
at
done
the
here
moment.
is
So why don't we just keep going, and I'll keep trying to get the live side up and running in the background.
I now want ready to plan. I want to find out where I can you know, go to get a course. I want to find out what the career options might be for me in this particular career. So this starts to become more of a planning tool now, not just a sort of magazine source of content and knowledge. So moving on, there are other aspects about what's involved in the portal, which is about inspirational opportunities to understand what it might be like to be the boss. Again, we're using here curated video content, people like Gordon Ramsay, excerpts on developing leaders, etc. So all of this is about the inspirational engagement part of what it might take to do to get somebody engaged in this sort of career. If we just move on, and because we've not got any video playing, I think we should probably move on to the employability section, Stephen. Sorry about this, folks.
Yeah, I think we're back.
Okay, well, if we're going to get back in the live site, what I'd probably suggest we do is jump into the employability job board section, Stephen, if that's okay, get that job. So the important point here is everything we do and everything that I know employers are concerned about is making sure that learners and employees end up at the right destination. So what we've built again into this front end of the portal is some resources around employability. So again, we're curating bits of video content, bits of e-learning content that would allow a would-be learner or employee to understand what it might take to get a job. So we'll just have a quick look at the interview body language, just a quick look at that clip. So this is somebody thinking about what they might need to do to prepare for an interview. Is it? Okay, well, I'll keep moving then if it's perhaps we
Kirstie, it's still running very
so I mean, I think more importantly, I think people, I've just seen a question coming in about will job centres be able to access? I mean, the whole point of this portal is to be able to put it out there in the community. The pilot that we're doing right now is very much geared to piloting with over 150 learners in colleges. So the learners that will be going through this will be learners who would be taking their MVQ or their VRQ in food and drink. But actually, as I'm gathering from the questions coming through, this absolutely does work and is very relevant for employers as well. And it's very much part of the design around what we've done here with Kineo is start to think about small and medium-sized employers as well. How can we use this portal type approach to actually service the small and medium-sized employer community, which often gets missed out in terms of learning and development because of all the accessibility and cost issues associated with training and development. I think what we'll probably do now then, given we're having troubles getting into the live system, is come out of the actual front-end portal now and move into the one of the services that's in here, which is something called the route map. What you will see across the top, you'll see a sort of a thumbprint where you've got all things route map alerts. And whilst that might not look that creative, the interesting thing there is what we're doing is actually connecting those three systems that I mentioned earlier on, which I think is what makes this so unique. Because what we brought together here is an ecosystem of an e-portfolio, e-assessment and an e-learning platform, Tutara, and brought it under all one look and feel, allowing both learners, tutors, mentors to be able to jump in and out of the system at the point that they need to, and to be able to have that very careful watch over their employees or their learners in terms of their training and development. So the planner that you're looking at here, the route map, is really just showing you a login for a would-be learner and their route map in terms of what tasks that they need to complete. It's a menu bar that allows people to look at, you know, what tasks aren't complete, what needs to come next, what the deadlines are. And you can imagine the power of this in terms of, you know, an employer, a training development person inside an employer, or a college in terms of efficiencies and learning effectiveness in being able to allow you to spend the most time with the with the learner and the employee who most needs it, and also to allow for that ability for learners to be able to self-progress and actually take independent learning to that step forward, that step further. If we were to click on, let's just have a click on food safety, I think it's got the date 5th of December next to it, that would take us into the actual Tutara learning system now, and I'll give you a feel for how that looks. And what you'll start to see in a moment when that comes up is you'll actually see the menu of learning resources associated with that particular learner going through that particular part of the qualification. And as Stephen referenced in the introduction, what you'll start to see is here we're delivering a set of learning resources and content that are no longer broken down into 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour courses, but they're actually 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, broken down resources, but when they all add up, they will all add up to the achievement of a particular qualification. I feel that I'm on reasonably safe ground in saying this is the first time I've ever seen this being done for a set of vocational areas. So I think that's the very interesting, diverse thing we're going to be showing you there. Stephen, are you able to go into the learning resources platform? Okay. Well, there we go. I think we're going into now. I'll come back to the gamification
Should be
point
just loading up
afterwards.
now.
I
It looks
noticed
like it's
someone just asked
responding.
made a point
Apologies,
about the
everyone. This is
gamification. Yes,
when
we
I saw
have
it and,
added gamification in.
today,
We've added sort of tools and
But,
badges
yeah, we should
as a way of
see
the
this one.
tutor or the training development manager being able to add rewards to the learning that the learner is doing, to get cohorts of learning to start to compete with each other. So we've really started to take those best practices from social media and gaming into this design and development. So what should be loading up now, there we go, is essentially the Tutara platform, obviously customized for what we're trying to do here. And you'll see, as I mentioned before, the different indexes in terms of, time it takes to take the resource, the progress, whether the resource is optional, whether you must do it. And so what I think I'd like to do, if that's at all possible, is get Stephen to play us a clip, an e-learning clip, because now we've moved away from the sort of resources that we were talking about before that we curated and we just put alongside it the magazine front end of the portal. And now we're into dedicated e-learning resources that Kineo have designed and built with us that are very specific to match directly to the particular qualification. So these resources are what are now available to actually help someone, instead of having to do this learning in the classroom, as they would traditionally do with something like a food and drink course that you're going to see now, they can now do this totally online. And Stephen, you just going to pick a resource out?
Great, thank you. Yeah, let me just load one up here. Just to point out, as that's loading, as you can hopefully see from the time listing there, we are talking about, none of these are longer than 10 minutes. Most of them are considerably shorter than that, and that was really, really important to us from a usability and access perspective, just thinking about learners accessing these things on the fly, maybe just checking how to perform a particular task just in time before they do it, and making sure that we think about a more resource-based approach rather than the old way of doing this, which was heavy textbooks, manuals, sitting in a classroom, hours and hours going through this, and then maybe not having to apply it for months or weeks later on, which
I noticed while Stephen's looking to run that, there's some interesting points being made about assessment. Again, we'll hopefully get a chance just to quickly touch on that, but the whole point about the resources, they're all geared up to delivering a pattern of learning from, you know, underpinning knowledge, now try some content yourself, and then now move on to assessment. And actually this is being built so it can hook back into our assessment platform, and indeed ultimately we would want it to actually deliver formative and summative assessment online as well. So that is very much the new theme for 2013, as somebody is, I think, already indicated on the chat. Back to you, Stephen.
Thanks, Kirstie. So here's a little, I suppose, game-like element that we've created here. So this is to help you figure out when is the right time to wash your hands. Now you might well argue there's never a bad time to wash your hands, but the idea here is watch this chef go about his day. You've got 10 squirts of soap, and once it's gone, it's gone. So pick your moments carefully. So I'll just play this. I'm not sure how well the audio is going to travel over IP while we do this, but let's see how we go. You might see a little bit of a lag just as this piece of video starts to run.
No, I don't think we're doing any audio.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that audio is. I don't think it's carrying it through the speakers, but hopefully, from looking at that, you get the idea. I'm watching this piece of video live. I've got my 10 squirts that I can use alongside, and I've got to decide the right times to do it, which hopefully you'll agree is, you know, rather than reading a series of textbooks explained to me, I should always wash my hands whenever I touch my face or whenever I change from touching meat to veg. It's a chance to put this into practice. Now, those of us who've been around you learning a lot probably know that concept, but this is, you know, really the first time when we've tried to do it. Small bite-sized components, make it accessible on demand for audiences like this. As you can see, looking up and down the list of resources that are here, that's just one of many resources that we've developed. We've tried to group them, so I think one of the mistakes that it's possible to make when you're designing lots of individual resources is just to make it a free-for-all and say, you know, here's just 50 things, go find whatever's relevant for you. We think learners still need a structured, supported experience, so we group them into logical areas of the basics, getting it into context, and we've used icons so you're clear what you're getting into, whether it's a piece of video or a game or a short PDF for download. You know, so there's a little bit of structure, but there's also a lot of freedom for you to explore in here as well. And that's the feedback we're getting from learners, is give me some order, but also give me some freedom to move around. The necessary
assessment required to get that quality mark, get that quality stamp, and know that they have now got a City Guilds qualification. And I think that is what's so unique about what we've created here, is for the first time we really are combining the learning journey with the assessment journey in quite a seamless way, and also in real time, and in a design that we think makes it the usability for both the learner and indeed the tutor or the learning development professional who might be monitoring their employees going through any such training. We've gone now back into the route map, and the idea here is to just really, I suppose, talk you through. I think it might be interesting, Stephen, just to sort of maybe talk through from the point of view of the tutor, or it might be difficult if you need to log out and log back in again. Yeah, do you want yeah, no, fine. If you want to take through that, that's great. Do you want to say a little bit more about that?
I was wondering if you want to maybe speak a little bit about the gamification there and the challenges and badges. Now that we're back on this on the screen, if you want to just take a moment to discuss that, or I can. Okay, so one thing that we've got going on here is you can see every learner has an individual route map which guides them through the learning experience with these key milestones along the way here, all leading up to, in this case, a qualification. But as Kirstie said, this doesn't have to be qualification driven. This could be to lead to a level of achievement related to your PDR in the workplace or a specific objective. You're on your own steam as you go through this as a learner. You put a plan together in conjunction with a coach or a tutor who helps you along the way here, and can also notify you if they think that you're falling behind or you need support, which is what you see in the alerts area there. So in this case, I might have got a message from my tutor saying, you're a week overdue. You need to do a little bit more to catch up here. But also, just going back to that original point that we had about encouraging people through motivation and support, something that we built in here is this idea of a game layer. Which you can see on the side here, we've used XP points as in experience points. So every task that you complete here will earn you a certain amount of points towards your goal. So it's that sense of marginal gains, gradual improvements, rewarding people for doing that. Absolutely key in vocational education, and we think incredibly important in the workplace as well. That sense of when you complete something, you're a little bit closer to that goal, and it's being recognised as well. So we do that through points. Another way that we do it is through badges. So I know many of you on the phone, especially those in the open source community, will be very familiar with this, the idea of badgification, and using open source badges as a way of identifying how people progress and gain experience and credibility in a way that can move from role to role and job to job. We've very much embraced that here, and we are awarding badges. As you can see, you can develop up to guru badges to be recognized as a leader in a specific topic here. And we think that that metaphor will really carry very well in the qualifications market, but also within the workplace as well. The other element that we do to try to keep people excited and motivated through this is this idea of challenges. So while you might have set out a learning plan that says, you're going to complete this by the 5th of December, and that's fine, and you'll do your next task, say preparing fish, by the 14th of December, you can also be challenged. You can be challenged by your coach, your tutor, where you'd be challenged by another person in your community, in your peer group, who might say, you know what, I bet you can do this before 14th of December. Why did you try and get it done by the 10th? And if you accept the challenge, you earn additional points. So it's up to you. For some people of a more competitive nature, they might buy into that and go with that challenge and try to get there a little bit faster, but you can always go at your own pace as well. But just that sense of almost borrowing from the multi-online player game community, that idea of accepting a challenge, maybe pushing yourself a little bit further than you want to, either in terms of how much you complete or what score you get as well.
I think the other point
so you can say, I bet you can get 100% in this assessment, even though the pass rate might only be 80. Do you accept my challenge? You can get additional points for doing that. So a way to keep motivation going throughout the experience.
Peers to be able to help other peers in peer assessment. Again, I think that's going to be another theme we're going to see coming out in 2013 in terms of how you actually create opportunities for peers at different levels to help other peers. So I think that's going to be interesting for us to test out. I mean, and the other point, I think one of the issues we all face is how can we continually deliver effective and efficient support to our learners in a cost-effective way. And so what we built here is all those resources that Steve and I have showed you, all of those can be reused in many different settings, and therefore the reusability combined with the tools that actually act as a support mechanism so that the right people are
Thank you for that, Stephen. Do you want to pick up on anything, or can we press on? Because the questions are flying in thick and fast.
getting the right support when they need it. I think actually should ultimately help drive down some of the cost in terms of the ROI around how we support and deliver online learning and make it effective.
Thanks, Kirstie. That's great. I was just in the background, so I'm sorry for the manifold technical issues been having, but I just thought I'd just launch just a different piece of e-learning to give you a sense of one of the different pieces of approach that's in here. This is, I suppose, taking personalization to a rather extreme level, but in user testing, this was a really appealing feature for learners. So this idea of you're about to go into a short goal-based scenario here, so it's actually a game-based approach where I need to show off my skills if I want to win a contract. But first of all, I can construct my own image. Those of you who've seen the photograph of me at the start will know I'm not doing a particularly good job of recreating myself here. But this idea that I can create a look and feel as an avatar who stays with me as I go through the experience. So now I'm in this hooking a new clients scenario, and I've got to help the chef with various tasks. So first of all, they've got to figure out which type of fish they want to buy. At this stage, I should have done enough learning to recognise place. So fish fanatics out there might be able to recognise the place from the many choices here. I was going to say it's that one. Nope, it certainly isn't. Perhaps, see if I can my fish any better. Is it that one? Yep, I found the place, and now I go.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Stephen. Just jumping in quickly, then I'm going to carry on asking questions. I see a lot of questions coming here. Pierre, Porty,
here.
Mr.
And
Ovido,
what am I
and
looking
Kajal,
for
don't
in
worry,
terms
I
of
am
this
going to
fish?
pick up on
Well,
your
am I looking
questions.
for
But I want to
eyes
just
being
go back
partly
to some of the
full?
questions
Yes, I
people
think
asked
I
early
am. Skin
on,
being
so that
salt
we
and firm,
can
that seems important to me.
uh,
Got some of
we
those
don't
things right,
those
not
people
all
don't
of
get
them.
left
I'm going
out.
to go back
Although
and try
actually,
again.
Kajal's just asked a question about the mobile
Some
design.
yelling
So very
signs here, and
quickly,
as you can see,
Stephen,
I'm
is
earning
it
stars and I'm
responsive?
earning
Does it
points within
adapt
this
to the
scenario
device to which
for the
it's
way that I'm
talking?
progressing
Then
through
we'll
it
go
as
through
well.
the questions.
So this
Is it
plus the wide
responsive,
different
Stephen?
range of videos, short videos that we've got in here, and simple PDFs. It doesn't all have to be high-end stuff as well. So coming back to that value for money point, not everything in here is high production quality or high design level e-learning. There are lots of simple PDFs. There's also, as Kirstie pointed out earlier, there's videos from YouTube and from other sources in there, because we recognise, you know, building a community of resources is about beg, borrow, you know, find resources out there that help your specific need. I think that's the great thing about creating a community like this, is you start putting it in the hands of learners to say, hey, I also saw this great resource, why don't we add this in as well, and allow them to rate it and comment on it as well. So over time, the community becomes
By the way, people loved the
self-supporting and
design.
self-serving in
Nick
terms
loved
of
the
finding new
design.
content and new
Kajal loved it, and
resources.
Saf said rather plaintively,
No, I think other than just literally
Moodle
the
Guess that probably
translation of
brings
this
us
out across, you know,
pretty
so
much
many
to
different.
the
Obviously, we focused on
please
food
that
and
we're done
drink
now.
because that's what we
Kirstie,
chose
anything
to
else you
pilot
wanted
it. That's what we
to
chose
I
to
want to talk about,
help
highlight
solve
at
some of
this,
the
at this
problems
point
that
before we
customers
let's
were
talk about
coming to us
assessment,
telling
and
us
then
they
we're going to go
had.
into
But hopefully, you can see how this can be
badges, and then
translated
we're going to
to
come back to some of
many
the tech
different
questions that
settings,
come
indeed
up,
different
like
customer groups,
Nick's question you
schools,
just
young
raised. But
people,
assessment,
directly to employers,
so
SME
I'm going to throw a bunch
communities
of them
across a number of different
together,
industries. So I
and
think it's
please
got
pick
many
them out if you can. So
translations
Kajal
once
asks,
you've
are the
actually built
assessments
the
exams
underpinning
or
infrastructure
online
and the
tests?
overall
I think
design
we've got some
approach.
way towards
And
that,
we
but it
certainly
may be
will be
our
looking to
exams as
see
well. So
how
perhaps,
we can take
Kirstie,
this
you can pick
directly
up on
out
that for a
into our
second.
employee community as well.
Mike says the technology is impressive, and he's impressed by,
Thank you.
he's intrigued by what's it possible to make, how much you can make it interactive and automated. And Sharon picked up on this as well.
Yep, absolutely. So,
Well, I'll have a go, and then Stephen, you go on. No, I was going to say, it is obviously an issue. It's certainly an issue for us because obviously we're going to be taking this into colleges. But I mean, I think at the same
well,
time,
so
you know, we have to accept that
yeah,
there is a limit to
there you go.
how
Go ahead.
accessible you can make these sorts of developments. So we've done our best to work within the constrict that we've got, given we do want to push the boundaries on this. And you know, I think there is more that we would need to do over time to look at additional accessibility features. But for this particular pilot, we probably haven't built anywhere near the sort of accessibility that I think the person asking the question is probably referring to be very honest with you about it, Jonathan.
Yeah, let's press on. Yeah, I think that's good. Yep. Okay, so what you're seeing here is a combination of a couple of different systems. Kirstie, I think you used exactly the right word for it. It's an ecosystem. What's just from a technical perspective, we're using Drupal, which is an open source content management system. That's where the food and drink, all things portal lives. So the screen that you're looking at the moment. And then when you go into the actual list of learning resources, you're then in Tatara. The two systems are connected to each other and pass data back and forth between each other. They're both open source, so Tatara is a custom distribution of Moodle. So Tatara is based on Moodle, but has some additional functionality on top of it. But yeah, the two top layers in here, Drupal and Tatara, are open source systems. It also connects with a couple of other City Guilds systems, so Learning Assistant and Involve, which handle some e-portfolio and assessment elements as well. So there are at least 4 systems talking to each other in the background here. The experience that we are trying to create for learners is you don't need to know or worry about any of that. You don't need to log into 4 different systems. They're all passing data back and forth, so to try to create that seamless experience. In terms of the mobile access to it, this was very much front of mind when we designed the content. So about 70% of the food and drink resources that we have in here are mobile, and some of them are designed specifically for mobile. So all of the videos, as you'd expect, will just run on a mobile device as is. Quite a lot of the assessment e-learning that we've designed will run on a mobile device as well. The idea is to push that up to 100% over time. The tutor and Drupal platforms themselves will also run on mobile devices, and we've designed it assuming that people will be able to access on an iPad or on a tablet device as a way into it. So the whole system has really been designed with mobile in mind, recognizing that access on demand is going to be absolutely key for success here. Yeah. Yeah, some of it does, and that's picking up, I think, on the last webinar we had on the subject of responsive e-learning. So just to broaden that out to people, the idea of responsive learning design is you design one piece of e-learning that runs on multiple platforms by using HTML4 and Kineo's Adapt framework will enable you to do that. Some of this content is built in that, some of it isn't, because this project was going on in parallel to the development of that framework. But any future content that's developed for Food and Drink or for other portals will be done to be responsive so that it runs across multiple devices.
What's the role of automation and tutor involvement? And I think that will lead us on to badges in a minute. But first, let's just answer those questions. Kirstie, exams and or online, and then perhaps both of you talking about the degree to which the assessment can be automated. How much is there a role for workplace observation?
It's a good one for a teacher.
Rather crucial. Go ahead.
Yeah, will do. Okay, well, on the online tests and exams, it's a bit of both. So yes, built into the system, as we've already said, we've brought together an ecosystem here of an e-portfolio, which is the place where obviously you can hold all that information, the planner, which is the route map, which is planning out the journey, and then a link to an e-assessment platform, and then of course the tutor. So inside the learning itself, we've built formative tests, the ability for people to build up their experience and practice fail test do, and then there is an opportunity then to link out to in inverted commas our exam base, which is our e-assessment platform Evolve. So at that point, yes, somebody would still have to go and take a synoptive type test. Longer term, I absolutely agree, we want to be looking at how we can make this so that it can be completely online, and some of that is about obviously us working with the regulators, people like Ofqual, who obviously regulate certain qualifications, to get them to see there are different approaches to be able to take examinations and tests online. So we're on the journey to it. There is a lot of online testing that's being done within this programme, but there is a long way still for us to go to get
I'm just going to press on then because we've got more questions.
and testing online.
Badges. A lot of people excited about badges. Let me ask a collection of questions.
Well, again, I mean, I think the planner, the route map, sorry, allows you to start to go a little bit towards that, as does the integration of the learning e-portfolio, because the whole point of e-portfolios is for people to be able to upload their assessments, upload their examples, and push those into a tutor and assessor. So yes, the facility is there. We haven't absolutely got direct examples of that built in right now, but that's certainly the intention to do that.
To be linked together, or are they completely separate? So you're doing badges just to assess, just to keep track of where you are, then you go and do an assessment for credit, which is separate. So Kirstie, do you want to just deal with the badges linking to credit, and then Stephen come back on the tech stuff?
Yeah, that would be good, actually. I'll just deal quickly with the how they're controlled and the link together. Really good idea, actually. At the moment, no, they're not, but I really like that idea, and I think that's something we should explore, is how do you actually
what about the tech stuff?
use your badges to actually start to contribute to your credits. I think it's more than possible for us to look at doing that, so thank you for that. How they're controlled at the moment, it's very much controlled by the tutor, and the whole point of the we obviously gave you a view of the route map from the learner perspective, and we did a little bit at the end on the tutor. If we had more time, we could take you into the role that the tutor plays inside the route map, and how they are. In fact, there we go, Steve just brought it up, so you can see the tutor's got a watch list, they've got their notifications, they've got their work that they've got to do, and so that allows the tutor to manage and plan their workload, including how and where they assign those badges and those credits. Okay?
Very cool.
Yeah, the aspiration.
Thank you. A couple of questions.
Yeah, just quickly to say that we're very aware of the open badge movement. Tutor itself is working very closely with the Mozilla Foundation, who set up open badges to work through the accreditation of these. So the aim is that the open badge architecture that we're using in here complies with Mozilla's open badge standards. So, which hopefully will mean something to the person.
Kind of approach to IT training in the NHS, which I think is interesting because that's both a sector.
To ask the question, but the idea is that there will be a global standard for,
and it's a large employer in its own
badgification. That if I complete food and drink,
you've got the IT training side and you've got the NHS side.
Qualification in the UK, I get a badge that means.
Kirstie, do you want to?
Something wherever I go, whatever I do. That's
talk about that, and then perhaps Stephen, give your thoughts as well.
The aspiration for this currently, as Kirstie says, is at the discretion of the tutor to reward them, but in time I imagine that will evolve, and they will come naturally through completion of various tasks. Okay.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that'd be
Fantastic.
good. I mean, I think probably I just sort of tried to say in the summary as we ended the demo, I think that's what we are actually trying to do here is build a ecosystem and a layering of the integration of all the different tools with a design and with a set of features that can literally be applied to pretty much any sector or any setting, because actually what needs to therefore probably change or possibly some of the roles, some of the interactions of the roles. And maybe taking account for those, but other than that, it's more about how we treat the content, how we actually taxonomy that will sit behind the content that might be required to deliver, for example, IT training in an NHS contextual setting. I think what we've got here is a fantastic way of doing that, exactly that kind of treatment. So I think, yes, we will be looking to apply in different settings, and I think it's more than transferable into those settings. It's just about looking at what are the roles that are going to be using it, and what the how actually you treat contextually the curation of existing content and the creation of new content to actually map to the particular learning that needs to take